Okay, what's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fortnite Mythbusters. In today's episode, we have so many insane myths that you guys suggested, as well as one myth specifically where I get directly hit by one of those Marauder capsules. So just like always, if you do have a myth you would like me to test in the next or future episodes of the Fortnite Mythbusters, make sure to go down in the comments and drop a comment of that myth for a pretty good chance to be featured. Also, we are 20,000 subscribers away from 1 million, so if you are a part of that 75% of my viewers who are not already subscribed to the channel, make sure to subscribe and turn on those post notifications to never miss another Fortnite Mythbusters episode. Also, if you do enjoy today's video at any moment, let's see if we can smash 27,983 likes on today's video. That would be insane. But without further ado, let's get right on in to today's episode. Kicking things off, jumping straight into the first myth. The first myth is, what happens when a Marauder shoots one of their own teammates? So we've actually tested this myth out before, but instead of the Marauder, we tested it with the henchman, and when we tried that myth out, the henchman didn't even seem to care that their own teammates were shooting at them. When I tried this myth out in game, I basically got into a fight with a whole group of Marauders, and it was actually very difficult to get them to end up shooting their own teammate in the back. But in this case, after a while, I managed to do it. One of the assault Marauders actually shot a good, I would say like 10 to 15 bullets in the back of one of the heavy Marauders, and he did not even seem to notice. He just continued shooting at me, as well as the rest of the squad. I think these AIs, you know, like henchmen, decoys, Marauders, and even sharks don't do any damage to each other because friendly fire has been out of the game for a very long time. But you OG players, way back in chapter 1 season 1, friendly fire was actually a thing, and I'm happy it's not enabled anymore. Going into a myth that actually involves a brand new item. This myth is, if you throw a firefly jar onto a campfire, will it light the campfire? So the firefly jar is a brand new item that was added into the game, and basically when you throw it down, it's basically like a Molotov cocktail, if you know what that is. The way to actually get one of these firefly jars in game is to kill an assault Marauder or a heavy Marauder, just basically the entire group, and it's basically just a randomized loot drop. It's pretty common though. When I tried this myth out in game, I basically waited for the entire campfire to go away. That way you would have to pay 300 wood in order to you know, restart it back up again. From there, I threw down the firefly jar, but it did not seem to, you know, reignite the fire. I wasn't gaining HP, none of that good stuff. I then paid the 300 wood and I relit the campfire. From there, I threw the firefly jar, hoping maybe it would stoke the campfire, but it didn't even seem to make any effect at all. Overall, throwing the firefly jar onto one of these campfires, it's really pointless, and it's just kind of a waste of a firefly jar. Going into the next myth, is, what happens when a shark lands on top of a crash pad? So a couple episodes ago, we tried a similar myth out, but instead of a crash pad, we tried it with a launch pad, but the shark just continued breaking the floor beneath the launch pad, making it impossible to do so. Since the crash pad is way easier to land on top of, a lot of people want to see what happens, and maybe the outcome would be similar to a launch pad. When I tried this myth out, there were the naturally spawned crash pads that were right next to Pleasant Park. I then, you know, led my shark and jumped directly onto one of those crash pads, but unfortunately the shark missed. But my player, who was skiing behind the shark, actually launched up into the air, and then you know, kind of got bungee corded over back to the shark. The entire camera view goes crazy, but you know, you still stay connected to the shark unless, you know, they hit a wall or they go onto land or something. Something really cool to note though is whenever the shark in this specific area tried to leave and he went over one of these crash pads, it did launch him up into the air, but as soon as he landed, you know, the crash pad popped and he began swimming again. But I actually think it was pretty cool to see, you know, the shark launch up into the air. That was something I definitely was not expecting. Going into a highly requested myth, as well as another Marauder myth. This myth is, when you're targeted by a group of Marauders, can you hide in a garbage can or porta potty to lose them? The most difficult thing about this myth is actually finding a group of Marauders and leading them over towards, you know, a hay bale, a garbage can, a porta potty, whatever it may be, without dying, because these things, they literally have aimbot. When trying this myth out, I led all of the Marauders to a garbage can that was north of Frenzy Farm, and all of them were fully aggroed on me. They were still shooting at me. I then jumped into the garbage can, and they all surrounded me, continuously shooting, and one of them even pulled out their pickaxe to destroy the garbage can, just to make me exposed. Now obviously, when you're in the garbage can, you will not take any damage from their bullets until they, you know, break the garbage can, or you end up jumping out and then they hit you directly. Going straight into the next myth. The next myth is, if you eat a hot chili pepper, then get knocked, will you crawl and any faster than normal. If you don't know already, located around the map here in Fortnite Chapter 2 Season 3, in majority of the houses, there are these boxes, which inside, if you break the boxes, it'll be like apples, bananas, a lot of consumable items that heal your health, but one specifically is this hot chili pepper, where it makes you run faster than normal. From previous Mythbuster episodes, we've learned that whenever you take one of these hot chili peppers and you swim, you glide, you actually will go faster than normal. So let's say you eat a hot chili pepper, then you get knocked down on the ground, will you crawl like 2 times the speed? I tried this myth out in creative mode, but I put both side by side. I put regular crawling, then another crawling where I had the hot chili pepper effect. You could tell because the steamer coming out of my ears and my player is slightly red. Whether you have the chili pepper effect or if you don't, you will still crawl the exact same speed when you are knocked down on the ground, which I mean, this is good to know, but I highly doubt this will really ever happen to you in game. I don't really see many people carrying these chili peppers anyways. Going into the next myth, and a highly requested myth. This myth is, can you use a henchman disguise to open the locked crate in the middle of Frenzy Farm? So in the shed north from the main house in Frenzy Farm, there is actually this locked crate, a similar one that you would see, at the Authority or, at the rig, wherever, the main henchman POIs are. But unlike those crates, whenever you try and scan your player at this one, it just says scan. It doesn't say, henchman disguise required, shadow henchman disguise required. So a lot of people are wondering, how do you open up this crate? When trying this myth out in an attempt to open up this crate, I went all the way over to the Fortilla, put on a ghost henchman disguise, and made my way all the way back up to Frenzy Farm, where it still said the exact same thing. It just says scan. It doesn't say a specific henchman type. I also went to, the Authority, put on a shadow henchman disguise, where it then had the exact same outcome. It just said scan. It still wouldn't open up the crate. And lastly, I went all the way over to Catty Corner, where I put on this robot disguise, but this team, it's not ghost, it's not shadow, it's more of like it's like a neutral team. But even with that disguise on, the crate still would not open, making this crate basically impossible to unlock. I honestly have no clue how we actually opened up this crate. If you do, please let us know down in the comments. It'll help a lot of us out. Going into the next myth is, can you place a trap inside of a vault? Now, unfortunately, every single trap has been vaulted from the game except the launch pad. So obviously, you can place a launch pad inside of the vault, but a lot of people are wondering, maybe, you can place a spike trap, or what happens when you do place a spike trap? Knowing that it's already possible to place a launch pad inside of the vault, I then went over to my creative island, where I have a replica of the vault. You can't destroy the walls, but you can still build in the back one by one. Basically, the vault is replicated from a real game, plus it is the Shark Island POI. Surprisingly, you were able to place a trap anywhere inside of there except the actual vault door, which totally makes sense, but it's still good to know, once spike traps do get added back in, because they definitely will, you could rely on them being inside of the vault. Going into another myth, and surprisingly, this myth got like 900 likes on the last episode. This myth is, do sharks take storm damage? So to try this myth out, the first step is obviously catching a shark. From there, I waited for the storm to close in just a little bit, and I rode the shark into the storm. The entire time that I was in the storm, I was actually taking damage, but I was shocked to see the shark not having any effect at all. I mean, the shark was still going the same speed, had the exact same amount of health, not taking one damage one bit. I then jumped off of the shark and waited for the storm to fully engulf us once again, where then I recaught the shark, hoping maybe if he was by himself, he would, tank a little bit of storm damage, but that definitely was not the case. The shark was still 2000 HP, and I just lost a good amount of health. So if you're ever stuck in storm, just catch yourself a shark, because they will not tank any storm damage, but you will. Going into the big myth for today's episode, this myth is, what happens when you get hit directly by a flying Marauder capsule? Now, in-game, the Marauder capsule spawns are actually completely random. One time it could spawn all the way up at Frenzy Farm, the next time it could spawn at Catty Corner, making this myth literally a 1 in a million chance to happen. I managed to kind of outsmart the system, where I jumped out of the battle bus early and held out my glider while I waited for them to start spawning in midair, and a couple times I got very lucky, allowing myself to get directly underneath one of these capsules while they are flying. When the capsule does hit you directly, it will not stop your glider. You will continue gliding. It will not do any damage to you, even though it will make an explosion, but it will immediately spawn all of the marauders around you, and if you are high enough up in the air, you can basically kill every single one of them without shooting a single bullet. But if you're ever in game and you're running around and one of these marauder capsules land on top of you, no need to worry, you won't take any damage, because I got hit directly and nothing happened. Anyways, that's gonna wrap it up for today's episode. I hope you have enjoyed. If you have, make sure to leave a like, and also subscribe to the channel if you are new. Turn on those post notifications to never miss another Fortnite Mythbusters episode, and I will see you guys next time.